Order. All alderpersons are present. Thank you all for being here. We'll move on to item number 3 on our agenda item this evening, which is I invite you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a silent prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Amen. Excuse me. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, which is the explanation or the visitor speaking procedure. Individuals wishing to address the body may do so after being acknowledged by a council member, in which discussion will be limited to those items appearing before us on our agenda this evening. Yeah, I'll put mine up there. We'll move into item number 5, which is the oaths of office and pinning ceremony for our Fire Chief Scott Young, followed by a pinning for the Deputy Fire Chief Robert Bartek and Lieutenant Matt Federer, motor pump operator, and Justin Borski, firefighter. Firefighter Justin Hansen. I should probably read that correct. Lieutenant Matt Federer, motor pump operator Justin Borski, and firefighter Justin Hansen. We are ready for everyone to.
All right, Jeff. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Scott Young, having been appointed to the office of Fire Chief, swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Robert Bartek, having been appointed to the office of Deputy Fire Chief, swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. And we have Matt Fader, Justin Borski, and Justin Hansen. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
having been appointed in certain positions, swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations.
We'll now invite the individuals wishing to pin on the individuals up here. Again, congratulations to those individuals and for your promotions, and look forward to working with all of you here in the city in your new roles. Item number 6 this evening is a reading of the minutes of the regular Common Council meeting August 21st, 2018, which is attachment number 1 in your packets. Council members, what are your wishes regarding the reading of the regarding the minutes? Alderperson Blazer? Motion by Blazer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Zerflu. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 7 is my report. Good evening, council members, staff, and here or those watching from home. The Mayor's Youth Council is currently working on recruiting to fill the spots left by the graduated members who have moved off to college or bigger and better things in their lives. The Youth Council has reached out to their peers through various recruitment opportunities in club days and assemblies at schools, and are speaking with teachers about fitting us into their plans in government courses at the high school level. The application deadline is September 28th, so if you know of individuals in grades 9 through 12 at generally Assumption or Lincoln High School or even surrounding districts, we're happy to entertain them for application to the program, in which they'll be orientated at a new orientation in October. The Beautification Council submitted a video to the national organization America in Bloom. The video was an introduction to their work around the city, such as the flower baskets and winter projects, and then other beautification projects. And the winner could receive $1,500 toward other projects. Voting is open until September 27th. So feel free to cast your vote for the video. I believe it is online on the city's Facebook page, if not on social media. Riverfront project, as you get in the project updates on a weekly basis, Demetz Park is now moving into the landscaping and reseeding phase as they get through that project. Most of the physical work is done with the exception of some of the paving for the parking lot. All the riverbank stabilization and trail installation has been complete, as well as the regrading and restoration work is now moving into the East Riverbank Conservancy, and it's expected that that project will complete at the end of October. I know given the rain issues that we had with the meeting we previously scheduled, I don't think a date's been set, but expect probably a public notice from the Public Works Committee Chair on potentially a further discussion on that particular topic and just a walk through that project. On the airport, as you've followed through minutes from the various meetings that the Airport Commission has had, one item of notation is the state aid project or the development project that is connected with the 100% dollars that the state provided. Got started last week, and the project will specifically expand the airport apron for more aircraft parking, especially as we've attracted larger aircraft that have very large turning radiuses, so we don't have a lot of space for multiple large aircraft at one given time. Further, a parallel taxiway and a mill and overlay of the primary runway, which will in effect extend the life of that runway for at least another decade or longer, as that will be a major project when that has to be reconstructed, hopefully years and years down the road through the maintenance project that's going to happen in the near future. In fact, the airport will be closed effectively October 1st for that major project to get underway. So we'll get a reprieve from some of the operations that folks have heard over their rooftops throughout the city this summer. The YMCA Boys and Girls Club had an eventful groundbreaking at the beginning of the month. Their schedule, as a reminder to us and the public, is 18 months of various demolition, construction activities. Myron, their general contractor, reminds us that they employ many people in the area, so it'll be very exciting to see that project get underway. There's also been some discussion as related to the farmers market. I've attended a number of meetings with market vendors as well as interested individuals on the future of the market, and it sounds like we'll have a request to move the market, at least in an interim basis for next year in the coming months, if not next month, for us to approve that. The 2019 budget process is underway. Many departments have submitted their budget requests, while some, unfortunately, as of this moment, continue to put finishing touches on theirs. We have started meeting with department heads today, and specifically to review their budgets. And I expect that we will have an update at the October finance cycle or October cycle for all of you, and hopefully have a draft budget, if not a full submission around that time as well. Since our last meeting, the Office of City Clerk has been vacated, so here we stand accepting applications for an appointment to the council for your consideration. As I've indicated in correspondence to you all over the last couple of weeks via email, it's my hope that we get a good showing of applicants so we can begin a selection and screening process in the near future. I believe the 28th is the published deadline on resumes and applications for the Office of City Clerk. And I'm watch for continued updates related to the upcoming election. I had some discussion again today, as I have with between Sue and I and others with the clerk's office, around making sure that the elections responsibilities are maintained. And should we decide, and certainly welcome your input on that process as we go forward. So please reach out with your comments or questions related to that. In the area of attended, hosted, and participated, obviously the YMCA groundbreaking was held this month. The Grand Affair held their annual event as well as their car show to some really great weather a couple of weeks ago, and actually had the largest showing of cars for the car show. It's pretty neat. UW Extension has some new resources and a new leader in our community. Had a meeting with her and look forward to her expertise. She occupies the office previously held by Peter Manley, if that's a name anyone recognizes, as well as the UWSP Science Building Open House, which hosted community leaders from around the area. In the area of ribbon cuttings, we held 3 since our last meeting at various businesses, one being Images and Ink, which now has purchased a building downtown near Paul Gross Jewelers and is taking what's been a long vacant building for their operations. It's kind of a neat way they've remodeled that. You may want to check that out. Milkweed Market, which is ODC's retail store, adjacent to their operations over off of Huntington. Neat store that they've opened up Monday through Friday, and I think they've got Saturday hours as well. And then Reese Martial Arts, actually in Alderperson Blazers building, I believe their operations, we hosted a ribbon cutting at that place to those folks that are now operating the martial arts program there. And then in conclusion, September proclamations, it's National Recovery Month for those dealing with recovery or in recovery or dealing with addiction. Issued a proclamation on that. Diaper Need Awareness Week. Domtar made us aware of the desire to issue a proclamation to bring awareness to the need of diapers for families. And an interesting one, and the Daughters of American Revolution Constitution Week, which was held September 17th through the 23rd. And finally, busy month for proclamations, National Rail Safety Week, which is September 23rd to the 29th. And I guess in conclusion, we invite residents, as always. I've heard from a couple residents who I've met with to talk about various boards, commissions, and committee appointments. So if anyone has an interest in serving on a city board, commission, or committee, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or the clerk's office, and we can have a discussion. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, the consideration of confirmation of my appointments to various committees, commissions, and boards, which there's only one, I believe, this month for consideration. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that appointment? Attachment number 2.
Make a motion to accept your appointment for the library board.
We have a motion to accept the appointment to the library board by Koth. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kellogg. Just as some background, Will Haskell, I don't think I had to reach out to him if he wanted to be here, but he's a long-standing library supporter, and he's actually the director of the Literacy Council here in Wisconsin Rapids, or Southwood County, I forget the territory. So certainly a lot of overlap in his interest and desire to see the best for the library and for the city's interest there. The motion and a second, is there any discussion? Seeing no requests, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 10 under new business. Item A is the first reading of an ordinance creating a legislative committee of. Oh, I skipped the Waterworks and Lighting one. Sorry about that. Item 9, appointment of a commissioner to the Waterworks and Lighting Commission for a term ending October 1st, 2023, which is indicated in your packets, the letter of interest, attachment number 3.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Bergen.
A motion to accept by Zerflu. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kellogg. Any discussion on the appointment of Mr. Bergen to the Waterworks and Lighting Commission? believe he was the only interested individual, if I'm not mistaken, that expressed formal interest to the clerk's office. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 10, new business, ordinances and resolutions. Item A is a first reading of an ordinance creating a legislative committee of the Common Council, ordinance attachment number 4 in your packets. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
A motion by Zerflu, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Blazer. We'll move into the discussion. Are there any requests to speak? Alderperson Graff, you're first.
I guess my only question is it's comprised of the chairpersons of the other 3 standing committees, and everybody's okay with that? I didn't know if anybody else wanted to have a discussion, or
I think the referral indicated that direction. If I'm not mistaken.
it did? Okay. Yeah, that was my only question. Thank you.
Any other requests to speak, discussion, comments on the ordinance as drafted? Alderperson Kubaschak.
Thank you, Your Honor. As I'm reading through this, I read through it before, and I don't think that, or rather the question is, does it have a specific meeting date? I think that one of the recommendations was meet on need, or the committee would meet when there is a need to take up legislative issues. So I guess does that need to be addressed in the agenda?
I
Ordinance,
believe,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I believe what would follow that would be some general language regarding the committees that probably says they meet monthly. But if you want this one specifically to just meet as needed, then I could add that.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about, because we don't really, it isn't something where monthly we pay the bills, monthly we deal with ordinances or the like. So it's something where, I guess if there isn't anything on the agenda, then a regularly scheduled meeting every first Tuesday or whatever, when the other committee meetings are scheduled, it just wouldn't be called. I don't know. And since it would be the like Mr. Graff pointed out, if it's the chairpersons, I guess they would be the ones that would reach out to each other.
Yeah, who's the chair? They elect, like they do. Okay. I think you can do code.wrap, maybe too. I think I found it there. Instead of record. Do we need clarification? I wasn't. Yeah, we got it. Okay, Joseph. Not the common council procedures.
Right, so it presently says that committee meetings will be held when necessary, but at least one time per month. So I could change that to say, however, or something about the legislative committee only meeting as needed. Would that be appropriate, or something that you'd want?
That would be
unanimous.
That would be fine with me. Yeah, I mean, it needs to have a second reading next month anyway, right? So it's a case where any corrections would be taken up, or the final product would be next month anyway.
Any other requests to speak? Alderperson Zerflu.
Can I just amend the motion to reflect that?
It'll come back. You can if there,
It's unanimous.
if there's a unanimous, if there's no objection. So
Okay, I would do that then.
I would call for unanimous consent. Is there any objection to amending the motion? All right. So and so we'll have the action reflected to incorporate that change. Any further comments, discussion? Seeing none, moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried unanimously. Item B, which is consider a resolution approving the filing of an objection to an appeal by Verso Corporation of manufacturing assessments for 3 parcels of property in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. Resolution attachment number 5. Obviously, you have some supporting information here. Attorney Schill also, I believe, shared, or at least the assessor's office had shared some of this previously. It's quite concerning, right, to see an objection of this nature, especially to the scale. I think it's unfortunate to see this happen, and hopefully we can this next step in the process we can be successful ultimately in our pursuit to object to their objection, right? Attorney Schill, is there anything you'd like to speak on the matter?
No, I wrote a short memo, and then the assessor, Steve Shepro, had sent something out today, and then I think it should have been in your boxes also, kind of explaining the process.
Okay. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item? The motion by Kubitschek, is there a second? Second by Zerflu. Any discussion? Alderperson Graff?
The only thing I wanted to add is that, yeah, we got the information in the packet, and I realized there was a little bit of supporting information sent in or given to us today. But if you look at, and I apologize, I don't have the page number. It says see attachments, so they had attachments for the reasons. And I'm not aware of the reasons why they're filing for the objection on the assessment.
They had shared those, the assessor's office had shared the full document, which was a quite expansive attachment. There was some industry publication attached with I would say maybe 100 pages. It was pretty big. I know I didn't print it because it was huge. That was a supplemental, yeah. Yeah, the supplemental they just shared. I feel like the assessor's office sent it today or yesterday.
Yeah, they sent it today at 11, but like I said, without supporting information, I'm just curious on the reasonings why.
Based on a downturn in the economy and what the paper industry's at was pretty much the extent of it, but we can get those materials to you. Those materials actually did not come to me. I got things from the DOR, which did not have the attachments in, but I believe Steve received those and reviewed them, but I can.
And they were sent to the alderpersons, I believe. Did you not, everybody not get it? But it was like today, it was.
Right. What was sent out today was something that was just received today,
Correct.
which is some supplemental information, or I should say what we received today was supplemental information, but the original information was not shared. I think
Oh, you're
Steve
saying
has
that there was a reference to attachments in here, okay,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah,
And actually, you have 60 days to make a record, so that's why they sent something more today, but we can get that to all of you.
Thank you.
Any further requests to speak? All right, we have a motion to approve. Moving to a vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 10C, consider resolution exempting the city from paying the Wood County Library tax in 2019, resolution number 6. Sort of formality every year.
I'll move to approve.
A motion by Zerflu, second by Rayom. Any discussion? See no requests to speak. We'll move into a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 11, consider for adoption actions of the Planning Commission at its meeting on September 10th. The Planning Commission met at 4 p.m. on September 10th, the first floor conference room at City Hall. Members present included myself, Alderperson Kubitschek, Lee Tao, Sue Wesley, and Shane Burkhart. Absent was Joe Terry. Others present were Adam Tagan, Alderperson Tom Rayom, and Dan Hansen. Resident. The meeting was called to order at 4 p.m. There was a motion. Item 1 was approval of the reports. There was a motion and a second to approve the reports, and that motion carried unanimously. Item 2 was maps and plats received. Item A was the Porshot CSM. The applicant is requesting a CSM approval for the reconfiguration of 2 parcels and the dedication of property as public road right-of-way. Subject properties are located at 1940 Lincoln and Avenue, I think it's supposed to be Lincoln Street, and 472 Miller Avenue. There was a motion, a second to approve, and that motion carried unanimously. Item 2B is the WRCM. The applicant is requesting a CSM approval for the division of 1 parcel into 2 parcels and the dedication of property as public road right-of-way. Subject property is located at 2210 Baker Street. There was a motion and a second to approve, and that motion carried unanimously. Item C was the Polzine CSM. The applicant is requesting a certified survey map approval for the combination of 2 parcels into 1 and dedication of property as public road right-of-way. Subject properties are 2820 and 2810 21st Place South. There was a motion and a second to approve, subject to a 5-foot dedication on Grove Avenue, and that motion carried unanimously. Item 3 was discussion of the referral from Alderperson Rayom on section 11.03.03A of the zoning code as it relates to the makeup of the planning commission. There was a discussion on feedback that several alderpersons have received regarding non-residents on the planning commission and the history of conversations already held on this item during the zoning code rewrite process. Alternative language was discussed, which could further limit the participation of non-residents on the commission. Several members noted that they bring value to the commission due to their ties to the city, regardless of where they live. It was noted that if the commission or council wishes to pursue an amendment to the zoning code, it will require a public hearing before the commission and final decision by the council. No action was taken. Item 4, discussion on a second monthly meeting for the consideration of non-public hearing-related requests, such as a site plan, architectural review, or plan of operation. With the adoption of the new zoning code, there are additional reviews required for projects in the commercial and industrial areas. In order to reduce any potential delays in projects, it was suggested that an alternative date be established for non-public hearing items to be discussed and acted upon. After discussion, the commission agreed to hold a second monthly meeting on the third Monday of the month at 4 p.m. Item 5 was adjournment, and there was a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion carried unanimously, and the next regularly scheduled meeting is at October 1st at 4 p.m. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding item 11?
I move to accept the report.
Motion by Kellogg, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Katna. Any further discussion? Seeing none, moving to a vote, please. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 12 is consideration for adoption, the action of the standing committees of the Common Council as follows. Item A is a report of the Finance and Property Committee held on September 4th. Alderperson Zerflu.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Finance Property Committee met at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, September 4th, 2018, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. All members were present. A list of others attending is on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Item number 2, review and consider for approval a request from the Community Development Department to contract with Civitech to rewrite the city's sign ordinance. There was a motion and a second to approve the contract with Civitech for $8,000 to rewrite the city's sign ordinance. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 3, review and consider for approval a proposal from Andres Medical Billing Limited to provide EMS billing services. There was a motion and a second to approve a 1-year contract with Andres Medical Billing Limited for the ambulance billing services. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 4, review and consider for approval a resolution amending the 2018 budget. There was a motion and a second to approve resolution number 30, amending the 2018 budget. That motion carried unanimously. Item 5, beverage operator license applications. There was a motion and a second to approve the beverage operator license applications on file in the clerk's office. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 6, consider approval of a Class B liquor license and Class B beer license application submitted by Ida's Incorporated, doing business as Ida Sports Bar and Grill, Robert D. Schultz agent, for the premises located at 1981 Lincoln Street, Wisconsin Rapids. There was a motion and a second to approve the Class B liquor and Class B beer licenses. That motion carried unanimously, I believe, although it's blank here. Item number 7 is audit of the bills. There was a motion and a second to approve check number 73378 through 73720 and manual checks 99738 through 99756. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 8, set the next meeting date. The next regular meeting of the Finance and Property Committee will be on Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018. Item number 9, in open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. There was a motion and a second to go into closed session. A roll call vote was taken, and all members voted in the affirmative. Sub A, in closed session, the committee discussed negotiations and strategy related to acquisition of properties in the downtown area. Sub B, the committee may return to open session and take action or make recommendations regarding item 11A, or may adjourn in closed session. The committee did adjourn in closed session. There was a motion and a second to adjourn. That motion carried unanimously, and the meeting adjourned at 6:15 p.m. And I will make a motion to approve the report.
Motion to approve by Zerflu. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Catna. We'll move into discussion. Are there any requests to speak on the report? Alderperson Kellogg?
I guess basically it might be a point of order. Number 2, for example, we said that we have a contract with Civic for $8,000, but then when you go to number 3, it says that we're going to have a contract and we didn't specify the amount. I think it was 4.5% of cash collection. Wouldn't that be in the minutes that we would have, just like we did with number 2, the amount or the percentage rather than the amendment?
Right, it could say that. I guess it references a specific attachment which does contain the actual contract, so that does contain that language, but we could, if you wanted to be clear, we could put that in. Actually, they both do reference outside materials, which has the information, so if you want.
I would make a motion that we include the percentage, just so that it's in the minutes that way.
I'd call for unanimous consent if there's any objection to including that. I mean, I guess it's contained in the packet, but.
Right, I guess after, I mean, the motion didn't say that, but after the motion carried unanimously, we can state in there a note that the contract is for 4.5% of the whatever.
Okay,
and then
just a point
if
of
that one, we can make it clear in the
Pass it that way.
in the minutes, if that's okay.
Further, Alderperson Kubaschak.
I guess with this particular thing, but I appreciate your transparency, Alderperson Kellogg, but I wonder if there might be a potential concern with disclosing what the amount was, because these were confidential proposals that were proposed. Now, these proposals or the contract can be requested via, a public request for open records, but specifically with these different percentage amounts, I would hate to put us for liability if we published a rate, because they do offer different communities different rates, and it is a case where this isn't like a public bid for a bridge project or a sidewalk project where you open the bids and you publicly announce the bids. This is a little bit different in that manner, so I would kind of potentially caution it. But I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm just potentially cautioning us for that.
Okay, further requests to speak? Seeing no further requests to speak, the motion is to approve. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried unanimously. Item 12B, report of the Public Works Committee meeting held on September 4th. Alderperson Realm.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Public Works Committee met at 6:35 p.m. on Tuesday, September 4th, 2018, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. The meeting was publicly noticed to start at 6 p.m. but was delayed by an ongoing Finance and Property Committee meeting. All members were present. The list of others attending is on file in the clerk's office. Item 1 was to review the DPW report. The report was reviewed and it's available online at www.wirapids.org. Number 2, review wastewater engineering services costs associated with changes in conditions of the West Side Lift Station project. It is moved and seconded to acknowledge the documents and postpone action indefinitely until such time that it becomes necessary to do so. And that motion carried unanimously. Item 3, discuss policy and ordinance development modifications for automated refuse and recycling services. Discussion included cart selection timeline, scope of services to multiple units that are owner-occupied, mobile home and trailer park collections, cart sizes, bulk collection items, truck proposals, leaf collection. See attached discussion notes on the garbage collection. Item 4, consider preliminary resolutions to resurface the following alleys recently inspected and found in poor shape. A, alley west of 18th Avenue North from Grand Avenue to High Street. B, alley north of High Street from 16th Avenue North to 17th Avenue North. C, alley north of Alton Street from 18th Avenue South to 19th Avenue South. D, alley west of Elm Street from Sherman Street to Chestnut Street. And E, the alley west of Elm Street from Chestnut Street to Meade Street. It was moved and seconded to approve the preliminary resolutions for the aforementioned alleys. The motion carried unanimously. Item 5, consider policy to allow the city engineer to authorize and issue permits to property owners to occupy the right-of-way for sprinkling systems and irrigation conduits. It was moved and seconded to allow the city engineer to authorize and issue permits regarding private assets in the public right-of-way. The motion carried unanimously. Item 6, review parking regulations changes necessary to accommodate traffic changes on 16th Street South from East Riverview Expressway to Clyde Avenue. It was moved and seconded to approve an ordinance for the parking changes along 16th Street South between Clyde Avenue and the East Riverview Expressway. The motion carried unanimously. Item 7, review and consider approval of the qualified low bidder for the 2018 sewer lining project. It was moved and seconded to approve Terra Engineering and Construction Corporation as the qualified low bidder in the amount of $124,662.50. The motion carried unanimously. Item 8 was to review the referral list. Item number 23 on the list was taken off. Kubishak requested an item be added regarding 1 Mile Creek storm sewer capacity at Airport Avenue for 2019. Item 9, to adjourn. It was moved and seconded to adjourn. The motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 8:55 p.m. And with that, Your Honor, I move for adoption of the report.
Got a motion by Reum to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Koth. Move into discussion. Is there any request to speak on that report? Seeing no items for discussion, we'll move into a vote. The motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Move into 12C is a report of the Human Resources Committee meeting held on September 7th. Alderperson Koth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Report of the Human Resources Committee meeting held September 7th, 2018. The meeting was called to order at 1 p.m. All committee members were present, and a list of those attending is on file. Item number 2 was to review and consider an approval of an increase for wastewater operator on-call pay. Don Urban indicated that wastewater has requested an increase for on-call pay from $20 a day to $30 per day. Ryan Giefer, wastewater superintendent, provided a brief explanation for the purpose of this request. He also indicated that the city should recognize the overall cost savings due to employees be able to monitor alarms via remote locations. The city has proposed that this be approved on a trial basis for October 1, 2018 through May 31st, 2018. Motion was made and seconded, and motion carried. Item number 3 was to review and consider approval of fire and finance department clerk share position in connection with proposed contract services for ambulance billing. Don Urban explained that the intent of this position was to modify the current billing clerk position in the fire department, since the individual currently spends a significant amount of time working on ambulance billing. Alderperson Kellogg made a motion to approve this job description as presented. The motion was seconded by Alderperson Zerflu. Motion carried. Item 4 was a review referral from Alderperson Blazer concerning the city's current residency requirement. There was a discussion about this request. Police Chief Blevins indicated that he is supportive of changing the residency requirement to 30 miles. Fire Chief Young stated he is also supportive of changing the residency requirement to 30 miles, with the understanding that those EMS staff who live more than 15 miles from the border are not eligible for off-duty transfers or emergency call-ins. A motion was made by Chairperson Koth to change the residency ordinance to require emergency personnel listed within the 30 miles of the boundary of the city of Wisconsin Rapids. However, the ordinance is also amended that the chiefs of the police and fire departments may enact policies which prohibit employees who live more than 15 miles from the boundary of the city of Wisconsin Rapids to be eligible for certain teams, duties, or call-ins which require timely response. The motion was seconded by Alderperson Zerflu. Motion carried. Item 5 was to set the next meeting date. The next meeting date has been scheduled for 7 a.m. on October 5th in the first floor conference room at City Hall. Item number 6, the committee may vote to go into closed section pursuant to section 19.85, para 1, para E of the Wisconsin statute, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties or investing of public funds or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. In closed session, the committee will discuss negotiation strategy regarding successor labor agreements with the International Association of Firefighters Local 425 Wisconsin Rapids and Professional Police Association and ASME Local 1075. A motion was made to go into closed session by Chairperson Koth, seconded by Alderperson Zerflu. A roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. In closed session, the committee discussed negotiation strategy regarding successor labor agreements with the International Association of Firefighters Local 425 Wisconsin Rapids, Professional Police Association, and ASME Local 1075. The meeting adjourned in closed session at 12:17 p.m. With that, I look for adoption.
Motion to approve by Koth. Is there a second?
Your Honor, I'd like to hold out item 2.
Second by Zerflu, and then we've got a request to hold out item 2, which I believe we do via unanimous consent. Is there any objection to holding out item number 2? Hearing none.
Your Honor, also, there was a request to hold out the residency requirement, so.
Number 4.
2 and 4, okay. So is there, we'll include them both if you're okay with that. Any objection to pulling out item 2 and 4? Okay, we'll move with the balance of the report with the exceptions of 2 and 4. Motion is to approve. Moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried unanimously, so that'll leave us, go back to item number 2. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item?
Make a motion to approve it, I guess.
Motion to approve by Zerflu. Is there a second? Second by Blazer. Move into discussion. Their request to speak. Alderperson Graff.
So I did some background on this, and I do have, I'm slightly concerned, so just so everybody's aware, we're asking the wastewater operator to take a tablet home and to do work, and we're not going to compensate them for their call.
No,
That's completely true. And the compensation that they're going to get is so slight that I don't necessarily feel it's necessarily appropriate. I think that they're a dollar amount slightly higher than what we're looking at right now would be more appropriate. The fact that operators can take and make adjustments to our treatment site on off duty or off hours, and for an extra $10, I don't necessarily feel it's appropriate, and that's why I wanted to bring that out.
Are there further requests to speak? Joe, did you want to respond?
Sure, just a quick follow-up on that. No,
The operators on call would get paid anytime that they're actually doing operations, whether they're at the plant or at home. The savings comes in the lack of necessity to drive from their home to the plant, get into the plant. We're estimating anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of time savings just in the transportation, getting dressed, getting into work, trying to decipher the problem on site, where with a tablet and the SCADA system, they're able to do a lot of that, directly from home with that equipment. So they'll still get paid for every minute that they're working. The savings comes from the lack of them physically having, in some cases, they will still have to come to the plant. There may be things that they can't take care of from home. But the savings comes from that prep and travel time and things like that.
Alderperson Zerflu, you're next.
We did bring that up at the meeting, and Joe just covered it. I believe there also was an employee who didn't want to take the tablet home. So when he's on call, is that correct, Sue? Or I thought if he actually has to respond because he didn't want to have the tablet, I guess.
Right. It's my understanding that he didn't want to take the tablet without getting compensated more for doing it, but I think now that would be probably part of the expectation of each of them to receive the on-call pay.
And I mean, the pay is small, but I mean, it's for the amount of work they're doing. The extra $10 was to have the tablet, and I mean, but they can handle this now in a matter of minutes rather than an hour.
Further requests to speak, I'll come back. If there's any requests to speak over here. Lee?
Thank you, Your Honor. So when they log into the SCADA system or this iPad, do they go on the clock?
Yes.
So they're getting their hourly wage?
Correct.
So we're asking people to give up their nights and weekends for an extra $10 to
No.
log into work, to take a look at what they're doing?
Nope.
I
No, they're on call anyway. And so with the additional responsibility of being able to remotely check in and things like that, instead of $20 worth of compensation, they would get $30 worth of compensation for being on call, just for being on call. Should they have to respond to anything, they're on the clock getting paid as they normally would for, a call time, for work conducted, things like that. The amount is fairly token, but it does represent a more consistent level of on-call pay simply for being on call, simply for being ready to respond if needed.
So just to be clear, if you're carrying this tablet and you sign into it, you automatically get paid?
Yes.
You get paid your hourly wage?
Yes, it doesn't track it. The employee has to track their time that they're working. But yes, they'll get paid their hourly wage if they're doing any work for the city whatsoever. If they have to, if they get a call in and an alarm or something, then they have to check and see what's going on at the plant, decide whether or not they need to report to the plant or not. That whole process, they will be paid that entire time that they're doing those evaluations on the tablet, wherever they're at.
And then when they're done doing their evaluation, they go back off the clock, they drive into work, they go back on the clock?
Correct.
I apologize. I guess I have an issue when we're asking people to give up their nights and weekends and wake up at 2 in the morning for $10 or for $20 or $30, whatever the total amount is. I guess I just caution us. I mean, I believe that people should have time away from work, and we're putting them on call, and then we're only asking them to receive $30 in compensation. And if I remember right, it was last month where we ended up reducing a benefit, and this would be an opportunity for us to increase a benefit to employees that would make it more attractive to them to do more work with the SCADA system at home, as opposed to doing it running into work at 1 in the morning, at 3 in the morning. The call time, I understand the call times, which are 2 hours pay, straight time pay, and then any hours worked is time and a half. I understand that. But really the savings comes from the fact that we have that guy on call.
Right, that person's on call anyway. Right, that person is being compensated now. You know, if you were the employee, you'd get $20 knowing that you're on call. You may not have to report, you may have to report, you're gonna get $20. Now, the theory here is that we're asking the employee to utilize a piece of equipment, it's more sophisticated, requires some more training, but to the benefit of the employee, if it's Christmas Eve and it's something that they can do from home, they get paid for that work, but they don't have to leave their family to do it. They can, if they can do it from the remote device, that's what we're hoping that they can.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Sure.
All I'm saying is I think the amount of compensation isn't appropriate. I think it's not high enough.
Okay. And for that, within the city, in the Public Works Department, for the street department, for example, if there's an on-call person that's assuming the responsibilities of the street supervisor for a snow emergency, that type of thing, this is consistent with that pay. And our HR director also checked to see what the on-call pay is for other municipalities and found that $30 amount was consistent with other municipalities as well. The 20 is low, but the 30 is consistent with.
If I remember right, I think Point was at 50 and Marshfield is at 45.
That I don't recall.
Thank you.
I think the references to Stevens Point at 40 and Plover at 35 was in the supporting information.
Oh, yeah, and that's right. And then Marshfield is at 50, right?
I don't see Marshfield
Or
on the
55,
list.
something like that.
Just Stevens Point and Plover are on this list here. Further requests to speak, Alderperson Zerflu, were you?
Well, I was just gonna kind of respond to that because, you know, they are on call anyway, like Joe Terry just said, so they are, in effect, giving up whatever night this is. They have to remain available, but instead of remaining available to drive in, they have to, not everything is going to be able to be handled by this device, but they can log in, go on the clock, and take care of it. So if you look at it in percentages, we're actually increasing their on-call rate 50%. So.
Thank you. Other further requests to speak, Alderperson Blazer?
Just for clarification, Joe, right now you're receiving $20 for on-call, and then it's time worked. Is there a minimum right now, or is it just time worked?
Right. There's a 2-hour call time plus time worked.
Okay, and then so if we go to the $30, there's no minimum anymore, or?
It's still a 2-hour call time plus time worked.
Okay, so if they have to log into the computer, is there any call time work?
If they get an alarm at home and they need to log on to the system, that's a call-in. They're going to be compensated for that as a call-in. Is that not correct?
I don't believe that's correct. I mean, the call-in would be to be called in to work, and then you get the 2 hours, and then when you worked. The rest of it probably would be arguably be overtime because it's additional time you're working, but it's just for the time you're working when you're at home. But yeah, the call-in wouldn't, as my understanding, that the call-in pay is not going to be triggered every time they look at the tablet and need to respond to something because they're not being called in. They're, to come in to work.
Well, the call-in is usually the emergency. I mean, if they were at home and just were going to look at it and didn't need to, but if there was an alarm received from the plant, I believe they'd still receive their call-in pay for addressing the emergency.
Yeah.
You believe that's maybe incorrect?
We need clarification.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, but I didn't think that was the case.
Okay.
But
well,
we could get
then I may
clarification on that.
misunderstand, and I'll get some clarification from the HR director and a
Right.
review of our policy.
And it could very well be that. I guess that wasn't my understanding. I don't know if anyone else, maybe I'm in the minority and that is correct. I don't want to confuse anybody
Sure.
on that, but I thought it was just for the time that they actually
No, Sue, and
responded, and then it could be, I think that's what,
that's why I'm
yeah.
saying we're not compensating people for doing work with the call time, so we're compensating them for an extra $10.
Well, it's $30
Right.
Total.
For an extra 10.
Plus, they're getting paid for the time that they spend,
But
plus
as
they
of
get
right
2 hours
now,
pay
if they were to
need
get the
call.
alarm and go in, they would get 2 hours pay, and we're taking that away, and we're saying we're gonna give you an extra $10 for it. That's my.
Well, they don't have to, it's all about their availability and the time that they need to be away, and we're making it, the goal is not to take money away from them, I don't think, because then not having to pay the call-in. I mean, I guess that's part of it, it's an efficiency thing, but I think that would then be, to your argument that they're on call, well, they're really there. Their availability is obviously less heightened with not having to come in, but I certainly understand.
Alderperson Rayom?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this might be one that has to go back to committee and get it clarified so we have the wording, the proper wording, whichever it is, then for the council to, or the committee to take action and come back to us next month or whenever, so.
Okay, so given the motion is to approve, we'll allow that motion to proceed. Alderperson Coe, did you have another item for discussion?
Okay, so the wastewater superintendent, Ryan, he was at the meeting, and he said the cost savings would be not to have to pay the operator the 2-hour call-in time to get in and go into the plant. He said some of these alarms that they receive from the plant, they can be fixed by computer, and often they can be fixed in less than 5 minutes. So that's why they wanted to try this program and pilot it and see how it works. During the meeting, he also pointed out, as did Dawn, that we are just doing this program for approximately 6 months from October to May to see how it works, not only on behalf of the city to see how it works for the city, but also how it works for our wastewater treatment operators. If the guys are happy with the program as it is, if the wastewater treatment operators want to see any amendments to it, how we are comparing to other municipalities at that time. If it turns out that the wastewater operators don't like it, that it's not working, that people are still going to the plant anyways, it would effectively not continue at that time. But what Ryan was trying to do for his guys that work for him is just make it so they didn't have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the plant and verify what an alarm was and reset it there, when there is the ability and the technology to remotely reset it from home while they're on call anyways.
Any further requests to speak? Seeing no further requests. Alderperson Kubitschek?
Just for a little bit more clarification on this, I guess with the chairperson of the committee emphasizing that the directive of this is specifically that the remote login, if it's a false alarm or I don't know what other terminology you would use for a 5-minute fix, if that's the case where that is not considered a call-in, is that what the motion is on the floor or what we're deciding right now? Because if that's the case, then obviously I would vote no. I'm not in favor of this policy. So where are we at? I guess I don't understand. Is it something that we need to remand and send back to committee to get further clarification, or do we take Mr. Cole's opinion on this as we're deciding this?
I guess I can't be certain to answer the question of the call-in pay. I tend to remember it the way Mr. Coates stated, that this is eliminating that 2 hours of call-in pay because they're not having to come in. But, Mr. Terry thinks of it a different way, so I can't. So I guess I would suggest that if we're unclear, that this could be held over and get some clarification. And so the motion that's on the floor, I guess Your Honor could ask for unanimous consent to change it to either hold it over or some other action. But I'm not exactly sure on the interpretation of that, so that's the best I can.
Alderperson Kellogg?
Being on the committee, this confused me as well. I had quite a few questions, and there's too many variables. I mean, we have so many variables here. Do they come in? Don't they come in? How many? And so I was going to vote no, but I was assured that because this is a trial and they have some concept of how they're going to do it, and if there's retro pay for people during those 6 months, they would get that retro pay. But I think that it's just up in the air in a sense, and they're trying to solidify it and working with the individuals, the employees, to get it resolved. So when they talked about it that way, I guess I was then in favor of it, basically because it is a trial. Once we get all the information and we can flesh all that out, we can make a determination as to the exact policy. And if they need back pay because of this during those 6 months, they would get that back pay. But that's where I was coming from as part of the member of the committee. So,
Joe, did you have something else?
I guess the only thing I guess I would suggest, and again, if I'm wrong, I could be corrected, but I don't think the intent was to, at least when I talked to staff, and again, I was on vacation, so I didn't attend the meeting, but it was simply to change the on-call compensation from 20 to 30, and not to change a call-in procedure. So being that it is a trial basis, maybe one of the things that could be done is that the motion's amended that if a person is called to duty, whether they're doing the duty at home or on site, they'd receive their regular call-in pay. As my understanding is that we were going to be saving money by avoiding that time for them to perform the work at the plant. Unless, Sue, if you think that's wrong, we should, the recommendation to hold over, but that's just my comment. Thanks.
Well, I'm hearing some differing standpoints in terms of what this was intended to do, which I think we've all lost sight of maybe what the intent that Ryan was proposing. And, we defer this, the pay on-call pay stays $20, the operators don't make any more money. I mean, it seems like there's a missed opportunity that's maybe lost in the semantics of how this is done. But that'd be just, I guess, from hearing the conversation, and I would offer that meeting is now recorded on YouTube, and so I think we've got a record of what the discussion was. So thankfully we record those HR meetings. Any further discussion? Alderperson Blazer.
It's going to make a lot of comment here. I think that's probably the benefit of having these people at the meeting here. If Ryan would have been here tonight, it would have been pretty well solved.
Sure, thank you. And our HR director did have a conflict tonight, hence why she's not here, but appreciate the comment. Any further requests to speak? There is a motion to approve on the floor. Alderperson Coth?
I guess because there is confusion surrounding this, I would agree with Alderperson Rayom's request to send it back to committee so we can have clear language in it to bring it back.
Is there unanimous consent did you have a clarification?
I would just like to ask a question, I guess. I got caught up into this too, but the only issue that the motion is actually changing is just the on-call pay. I mean, is that right? So
right.
Technically, this whole thing could still be implemented, but they would just stay at $20 on call? Because they're not bringing it to this body to get permission for the program, I guess, now that I really think about it. It's just strictly changing from $20 to $30.
That's correct.
I guess I don't see a point in holding off then, but I won't object if that's what everyone wants to do.
For addressing it remotely. Yeah, I'm not sure how that was administered, but so we've got a motion. We've got a call for unanimous consent. Is there any objection to amending the motion to refer this back to committee? Any objection? Hearing no objection, we'll amend the motion to, the motion will be amended then to refer this back to the Human Resources Committee at its next meeting. We'll move into a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 12C4, the referral from Alderperson Blazer concerning the city's current residency requirement. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item? Alderperson Kellogg?
I was in favor of the proposal, but I had a couple calls from residents, and They were concerned about the response time and services that the fire and police department would be able to provide if the mileage was from 15 to 30. And I thought if the chief, both chiefs or either one could explain that it wouldn't interfere with the fine services that are offered already, just because of the public watching tonight, that they can be assured that this shouldn't make any difference.
I don't believe that it would affect the services as is. Most of the police officers on my department live within that 15-mile. I don't see them selling their houses and moving just because this would be passed. And with the 30-mile that was proposed, the response times would not be exaggerated as well. So I don't feel that services to the city would be affected as far as the police department goes to that great extent.
Okay, Chief Young? Okay.
Other requests to speak? All right, entertain a motion. Alderperson Zerflu.
I'll make a motion to, I guess, delay this item
To
for
postpone,
next month.
to postpone this item to the next council meeting.
Next full council, I think.
Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion? Hearing no second, the motion dies. Alderperson Blazer? Okay, we have a second.
But
You want to just go ahead and speak?
yeah, it's kind of been a long process to make the change here, but I understand the letter from Attorney Schill regarding some bargaining issues that could be in there with setting policies on the residency limits. I just hope that this does not become a negotiation item, that this item is spoken about just a standalone issue on its own to address this policy potential issue. And then hopefully we can get this resolved real quick, and as it sounds like it can be, and we can get this to 30 miles and go from there. Thank you.
Other requests to speak? Alderperson Zerflu?
I echo those thoughts exactly, and that was the purpose of the motion. I anticipate that we can have this wrapped up by next council meeting.
Great. Any further requests to speak? Alderperson Rayom.
I might have missed what you were saying there, Shane. Going back to the committee, this is subject to bargaining, is it not? And that's the reason that you'd have to go through the negotiation process with them. And from my point of view, the 30 miles would not be, well, I probably shouldn't say because we're not negotiated, but I guess that was my take on the letter, I think, from Attorney Schill, that it go back in through the bargaining process, and that her opinion, it shouldn't take very long to settle it out. If I disagreed with what the settlement was, it may take a little longer too. So so it's not necessarily the committee. It's I guess in negotiations, which is the committee.
Any further requests to speak? Alderperson Blazer?
I guess that's correct, because this would be part of the bargaining, correct? Yeah, that's my own concern with this, that I don't want it to become a bargaining issue. Just my opinion.
Other requests to speak? Motion on the floor and a second. Moving to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let the record reflect one nay, and motion carried. Item 13, reports of other committees, commissions, and boards, department reports. Item 1, the Waterworks and Lighting Commission meetings held August 8th, regular and special. Item 2 is Police and Fire Commission meeting held August 8th. Item 3, Southwood County Airport Commission meeting held August 2nd. Item 4, the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department monthly update for August. Item 5, the Mayor's Youth Council meeting held on August 8th. And item 6, the Wastewater Treatment Commission meeting held September 5th. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding those items?
Move to approve all the reports.
A motion by Zerflu to approve, second by Blazer. Any discussion on the reports? Alderperson Rayom?
I'm trying to find it on my computer here, but I did have a question on the Police and Fire Commission on August 8th, I believe. Let's see. Oh, it must be. And I think it was, I'm not sure which number it was, but it had to do with the handbook and if there aren't enough.
Oh, zoning code? You're referring to the planning commission?
No.
No?
It had there was a handbook talked about being item. Oh, this might be it here. Hold on a second. Yeah, item 7. Discuss entry-level firefighter/paramedic listed process. The proposed changes to the Police and Fire Commission handbook reflected in item 8 below will give the fire department the ability to run an internal process if there are not enough qualified candidates through Chippewa Valley Technical College recruitment. The question I have is that have we been short of getting people applying for the position? I guess you see this going forward. It says reflected in item 8, unless I missed it. I don't know for sure what item 8 says in the handbook, but I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I just would like more clarification on it.
So I think what the change of the policy does, it gives us the flexibility. We use Chippewa Valley, and this year we interviewed 3 after their testing process, and 2 did not qualify or meet our standards, and we have more openings than qualified members through Chippewa Valley. So when that happens, then the city can run an internal posting, and we'd utilize that also if Chippewa Valley fails to meet our needs. So that gives police and fire the flexibility, Chippewa Valley and internal if necessary.
The internal, what do you mean by that?
Well, the city does the posting, and then we
Okay.
look for candidates that meet our
Published to the
Yes.
public.
Yep. Yes, so we have a second list.
Okay, I thought it was something like that. I just wanted to.
Yes, we are having issues with filling positions.
Those eligibility lists are non-existent, unfortunately, in both police and fire. Any other requests to speak? Seeing no request to speak, the motion is to approve the reports. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried unanimously. Item 14, referral of communication to committees. Alderperson Coth.
Over the past month, Encourage had asked a number of older people to come down to the Tribune Building and take a look, and their director had asked for a non-binding resolution in support of their project. I'd like to make, I think we have a committee of the whole coming up. I'd like to make that referral to the committee of the whole to explore a non-binding resolution to their organization
In support of?
their Tribune project.
Oh, okay. Other referral of communication, Alderperson Blazer. I'm guessing either committee of the whole or legislative. Well, I don't know. I guess I'd probably think about that. Alderperson Blazer.
I suppose I should turn on my mic. And also, I guess for further clarification, Attorney Schild, what date does that need to be done by? Because it's coming up quick, I would think. Probably November would be the latest.
Right, because there's a blackout time of when you're saying to actually have it at the spring, regular
Correct.
springtime. I think it's the beginning of December. It's later than you realize. I think it's the first day to circulate nomination
December
papers.
1st.
So it'd probably have to be for sure the November meeting, but I guess if you want to consider it, if it's something you want to consider, we might as well talk about it in October maybe, just in case it's.
So is this something, do you
Held
think
over
we
for a
need to
month.
go to committee of the whole or just a direct referral to council?
I suppose if you're going to have a committee of the whole, it probably is a decent, or it would make sense to go to the committee of the whole first. I think it could go either. I guess arguably you could say it's could be considered a legislative thing and go to the legislative committee.
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna have a committee of the whole, if that could be added to it.
Further referral of communication to committees. Alderperson Kubaschak.
With that being said, with the committee of the whole, I guess I'll take the reins and throw it out. How about next Tuesday? Does that work for everybody about 5 p.m.? Or would it be better to schedule it somewhere in between the two regularly scheduled committee meetings on the first Tuesday of next month here? I don't know. I guess I'd rather have a straw poll taken tonight than have deputy clerk try and email people and everything else. So if it's a case where we have at least 2 items on committee of the whole, I think that the meeting probably would last a little bit longer than something real quick in between the 2 regularly scheduled committee meetings on the first Tuesday. So therefore, I throw this out for next Tuesday at 5 p.m.
Are there folks that cannot make that first option? One, are there others that, is that what you were seeking, you were proposing the 2 options, the one at the most availability?
Or any other potential? Would 4 p.m. work better for you, Mr. Zerflu?
Yep. The first Tuesday, or you're saying next week?
Next week.
Next week.
At 4 p.m. Does that not work for anybody else? 4:30? Can you do 4? Do I get 4:30? 4:30? More 4:30s?
Okay.
It'll help.
All right. Are those recorded? I would just make a request that it would be recorded. I'm out of town next Tuesday. If we could at least record it for internal purposes, if not to publish it. Okay, thank you.
So those items would be the special election, the non-binding resolution, and then I think the Y thing.
There was a
but I think
referral on
that
the
actually-
YMCA,
right,
which it sounds like
okay.
we've gotten concurrence from them. It's an email I sent actually right before our meeting tonight. Some information, so just, you may or may not need to discuss that, I guess is my point.
But we'll
I don't know.
put it on, I guess.
Depending
if
on what
you-
the
sure.
scope of that referral was. Okay. Alderperson Graff?
The other thing to kind of go with what Shane was saying with the clerk and the election is job responsibilities for the deputy clerk, pay possibly for the deputy clerk for the additional duties. I think those need to get discussed. And the other thing is I don't know if this referral goes to HR, but just job responsibilities for everybody on staff. Because I've asked 2 or 3 different job responsibilities, and nobody seems to have them on hand.
So are you looking for position descriptions?
Descriptions, responsibilities, that kind of thing. I mean,
that was shared.
So like which ones are you looking for?
well, us as aldermen,
Well, there is no job description for alderpersons. You're not employees, you're elected officials. And, I mean, there's lots of training and things that talk about that, but we don't have a job description
so we have
for,
no responsibilities?
if that's, right. I mean, I guess the job is kind of what you make it. I mean, obviously it's in a statute, your responsibilities.
When I asked the question a few times and about a couple different positions, there was no clear expectations, and I guess I don't know if that's a referral to HR or if that's something, and Sue, I
Yeah.
apologize, maybe that's something that you could help me with, or?
I guess I would just address maybe a bigger concern that I have is the agenda item, and we had debated how we address this, maybe at a committee of the whole perhaps, that these referrals are really requests, right, for either staff to address or for the body to consider. And it's very difficult to understand them in a verbal sense. So the idea would be that there would be some written format that would be submitted hopefully to the city clerk's office. Then they would be acknowledged, and then we can address them internally if they are to be assigned to city staff. City staff look to me and say, well, is that whose job is that sort of thing? And when are the deadlines and expectations? It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Kind of what you're saying, right? So I think I would propose, and maybe we can have this I can issue a memo and maybe get some feedback from folks on it. But I really think referrals should come in a written format to help address so we can meet the the need, right? Or
Yeah,
the need
yeah,
to
nope.
discuss it or respond to it. So maybe in that vein, can I ask for that one in writing, and then we can send it to the right staff member or bring it to a committee if it's ready for a committee at that point.
Yeah, and that, and
Fair.
like I said, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you have any sort of a referral? I know it's something that was, staff was
I
working
think just
on. Did we
what
get?
you want responded to. I mean,
Okay.
maybe just a list of questions if there are, if you've got a list of,
Okay.
if it's specific department heads or, other departments, whatever, if that's the case.
Okay, thank you.
Was there something over here?
I just have a quick clarification for Mr. Graff in terms of the referral, just so that we got this committee of the whole meeting. Is it your intention that you wanted to have the interim compensation and job description for the deputy clerk as well on that committee of the whole meeting?
That is correct.
Not sent to HR committee yet? Okay.
That's,
Committee- Right,
what
committee of the
I-
whole could make a referral to HR then, but it needs to, that type of thing would, compensation and should go to HR, but you could originally talk about it at committee of the whole if you wanted to.
okay, yeah, and that's fine. Thank you.
Alderperson Zerflu? No? Any other referral of communication to committees? Yeah, Alderperson Zerflu.
I'm not quite sure where to refer this. I've been talking to Mr. Tagan and also Mr. Eichstead, but I've received a few calls from some concerned business owners in the area of 4th Ave and West Grand. They seem to think that there's an alley that would run behind like Venus and Bowers and Square Bar. And apparently the confusion here is because there's some sort of documentation that something was actually sent to council like back in 2008-ish, where like an alley would be established, but they can't find any record that the council actually took action. So if the council didn't take action, then there obviously would be no city claim. This would be a concern, I guess, just for the property owners, but I guess just
Yeah, they've probably talked to just about most alderpersons, maybe a couple other alders as well. I think
Sure.
We may want to take that and issue a memo. I know I've asked for something in writing on that too. They've been up to the office the last 2 weeks, really, since demolition's begun. So,
right.
Yeah, we can probably just issue a memo back responding to that request, because I don't think you're not requesting any action to be taken by the city or by the body. It's
Well, the only thing
more information on.
Correct. I want to just get the answer as to whether or not there is a city alley there, or do what we can to say yes there is or no there's not.
Okay,
Just
very understood. And I think that's what we all want.
We're trying
Right,
to do.
is
Okay, thank you.
The history of the title, the deeds on all of that. Any other requests or referral? Alderperson Rail.
Not a referral, and not to hash it out tonight, but there was, and I don't remember the wording, what there was, or if there was any on the alley, but that was like an alley halfway through, because it went back of the laborers hall there. Now, was it officially an alley? Right now this evening, I don't know. I'll try and rack my brain over the next few days, but so that there was a driveway. It was tight, but there was a driveway through. Since then, it had been blocked off with big stones at the back end of it. So there, and like I said, right now I don't remember for sure what the official status was, but it was used like as an alley.
Thank you. Any further referral of communication, Alderperson Kubaschak?
This isn't a referral. On a positive note, there is a Government 101 seminar that's going to occur. Maybe Ms. Clark sent out an email. She reached out to me, and I suggest to send it out to the rest of the council. It's September 28th, Friday, all day. It's in Stevens Point, and it's through the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Wonderful program, whether you have a lot of local government experience or whether you have zero. It's a very, very well put together, very informative. And if it's raining out, I'll be there because obviously I won't be working. So and the cool thing is that it's same day registration. Although they like to have registration in advance, they're not going to turn anybody away. So I would highly recommend anybody check that out.
And it's very close. These trainings sometimes are Eau Claire or wherever, so there's a bit of a drive involved sometimes. Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion by Zerflu, is there a second? Second by Koth, all in favor? Any opposed? Stand adjourned. Thank you all for being here and have a good rest of your evening.